Hey everybody, it's Derek here. We're going to take a look at the news from October 4th to the 10th of 2021. So probably the biggest news this week is that Twitch has leaked all over the internet pretty much. So on Wednesday it was announced on 4chan of all places that the Twitch source code had been leaked on the Twitch servers and was now available for torrent if people wanted to. 128 gigabytes of data. So an anonymous hacker basically posted on 4chan saying the leak was intended to foster more disruption and competition in the online video streaming space. It's noble, yes, there certainly could be more competition other than Twitch and YouTube, and that's about it. But then they said that the Twitch community is a disgusting, toxic cesspool while posting on 4chan. You didn't exactly pick the best place to make that claim. Anyway, so stuff that got released. So there's a bunch of stuff. Twitch later updated to basically say that yes, this is legit. Unfortunately, there has been a leak, and we are looking to check the extent of yada yada yada. So what actually got leaked? So the entirety of Twitch's source code commit history going back to its early beginnings. So if you're not familiar with software development in general, a commit history is basically a log of all of the different changes that have gone on in the source code going back to its early beginnings, apparently. So every change that gets made, every typo that gets fixed, every bug that gets fixed, every new feature that's implemented. It's like an itemized update history, basically, of all of the source code. So that's interesting, but really the snapshot of like its latest current iteration is the only important part, really. Going back in time, you could see how things have changed, but that's not hugely important. Besides, you don't get much out of that. It depends how much is in the commit history. Basically, if it's just a commit message, that's not all that useful. Anyway, creator payout reports from 2019, which we'll talk about in a minute. The mobile, desktop, and console Twitch clients, it's not clear if it's the actual code for those clients or if it's just builds of those clients. We don't know. Proprietary SDKs and internal AWS services used by Twitch. I've highlighted this one because this is a bad one. This is the really bad one, because source code stuff, you're only getting a snapshot of how it is right now. That can be changed, things can be fixed, any exploits or whatever can kind of be shorn up. SDKs and AWS services are a little trickier to deal with because they will touch more things. So fixing Twitch's source code will only really affect Twitch. Really affect much of anything else, whereas SDKs are like things that plug into Twitch, or anything that plugs into its AWS service. That affects far too many other things for it to be a very easy fix. So there's going to be a lot of exploits in there going forward. So that's a big problem for them. Every other property that Twitch owns, you would think they would have a better itemized list of that, including IGDB, the International Games Database. I think it's international. It might be interactive, but I think it's international. Anyway, and Curse Forge, I've no idea what that is. It sounds like a Magic the Gathering. Are they owned by the same? I don't know. I don't think they're owned. I was going to say they're owned by the same company, but they're not. An unreleased Steam competitor codenamed Vapor. Wow, very imaginative. From Amazon Game Studios, that very hit game studio that releases all the hit games. I can't wait for their Steam competitor. And Twitch internal red teaming tools, which I have again highlighted because these are the toolkits that they use to perform their own malicious attacks against Twitch and Twitch services. This is like an internal team of people who are trying to break it on purpose to find like security flaws and that kind of thing. And having those tools open to the public now is a big problem because it highlights viable attack vectors for Twitch's services. So that's not good. That's really, really bad. Some Twitter users have started making their way through the data. Some are claiming that encrypted passwords have been leaked and so on. Twitch have come back update to say that there's no indication that any login details were exposed or that credit card information was taken or anything like that. That being said, change your password. And if you haven't, start using two-factor authentication and don't use SMS two-factor authentication. Use something else. SMS is too easy to exploit. You may also have gotten a message, if you are a Twitch streamer, you may have gotten a message from Twitch to say that your stream key has been changed. If you're not familiar, a stream key is what you use to connect to Twitch's servers to let them know that you are the owner of that account, and that you are like, this is a legitimate stream that should go across your account, kind of thing. Which is meant to be a private thing that no one's meant to know, but with this, it's entirely possible. They've gotten it, so they've been changed. Out of an abundance of caution is what was said in the Twitch email. We'll talk about Twitch's abundance of caution in a minute also. So other things that came out from that leak is the creator payout reports from 2019, which has kind of been making more of the news than anything else. So there was a big list of creator payouts for like itemized by month, and then amount paid out from 2019 to 2021 kind of thing. So people have been like going through these and looking at the numbers and being like, what? Critical Role makes nearly 10 million in like 2 years kind of thing. The important thing to note from all of this data is that yes, it's from Twitch's payouts directly to these channels. So this is for like ad placement, for getting in views and on all that kind of thing. But it does not account for donations. It doesn't account for like side merchandise. It doesn't account for they have an OnlyFans account or anything like that, or the YouTube side of things or anything like that. Any kind of sponsorships. None of that comes in either. So yes, this money will. There'll be even more of that. Some things to point out in these lists is that there are pretty much all cis white males, like practically every single one of them. There's like very few women, and then even further, there are very few women of color in any of these lists. So the very popular meta that titty streamers are taking everyone's money, they're not. They're very much not. So the anonymous leaker came back a little later in the week to kind of point out that this was only the first part of the content due to be leaked and that more parts would follow, but it is not clear and they have not stated what will be in the next parts. Though, important to point out that while Twitch have come back to say that there's no indication that passwords have been leaked, potentially in these later parts they might have been. So again, change your password. The rest of this article kind of just goes on to highlight that Twitch has been kind of shit lately with their hate raids and that kind of thing. But the important information is that big leak of all the Twitch stuff. This is a later article from The Verge, who had a chat with some security people who used to work for Twitch, and some of them who still do. They're speaking under an anonymity. Something, you know, the word I'm trying to say. They didn't use their name because, you know, they don't want to be sued by Amazon, I imagine. But why did this happen? What happened? Why is Twitch's security so shit? Basically, it's always been shit because they're following the same Silicon Valley corporate thing of make things very fast and fill in the gaps later, and then they never fill in the gaps. The security holes are just there for years and years and years, and they never get fixed. And then shit like this happens. So the data breach is being blamed on an error in server configuration, which basically means someone accidentally made it public for like half a day or something, and somebody else went, why is Twitch on GitHub? Oh, I'm gonna download this shit. You boys really fucked up. Anyway. Most of their security experts and security employees or former employees from Twitch have said like such a breach seemed like it was increasingly likely to happen, and that the company valued speed and profit over the safety of its users and security of its data. This sounds very, very familiar if you have been paying attention to the Facebook whistleblower that also came out this week. It just has very little to do with gaming, so I'm not really talking about it, but sure sounds familiar. Anyway. So talking about like in previous times where they had brought up the issue of the raid feature in general, which has been the subject of like hate raids and harassment and that kind of thing. Alarms were raised about the potential abuses of raids long before their hate variety exploded in August of this year. There would be constant questions and discontent about the regular moderation failures. This source claims raids were internally discussed as being a vector for harassment just by virtue of their name alone, and that the team had to rush to secure the feature before it went live. Source characterizes Twitch as a place foremost concerned with the bottom line. If it wasn't generating revenue, then it wasn't valued as highly, of course. Now, not to particularly put the blame on Twitch just for this kind of thing, because this is every software company, basically. This is every kind of software platform out there, is that they clients tend to value features more than they value the stuff they can't see, you know? And not even clients, customers, users, and any of those kind of things. Like, how many times have you seen an update to a piece of software that you use and all it says is improvements to stability or bug fixing or that kind of thing, and you're like, that's boring, I want new features and stuff. That's not just you. That's practically every person who uses a piece of software values things they can see more than like the important stuff, like making sure it doesn't crash all the time. That shit is important, but it definitely does not get the same amount of time, and it is not valued as much by the people who make the decisions. So I can't say I'm surprised about it, but you would hope that a company as big as Twitch, as Facebook, as Twitter, as all of those companies would pay attention to this kind of shit, because it is important, and when it fucks up, it's not as bad as people not being able to fucking comment for an hour or so, and your actual like income is just plastered across the internet for everyone to make shitty videos about, like me. You know, that's not good. That's not good for the company. That's pretty bad PR shit. Anyway, this anonymous source, this is actually a different anonymous source in this case, notes that attackers can now see the shortcuts and APIs for internal Amazon services thanks to the leak. So this is kind of building on the fact that Twitch's SDK has been leaked, but also the AWS services, the APIs for that, the internal APIs for that, which is much, much worse, because there are publicly facing APIs for Amazon Web Amazon Web Server service, anyway, that Twitch would be using, but since Twitch is owned by Amazon, they would have access to the internal or private APIs as well. They've now been leaked, so this is now an even bigger problem, because it's not just affecting Twitch, now it's affecting Amazon and Amazon's AWS, which a shit ton of companies use. So this is quickly growing outside of the realm of just Twitch. This will be affecting a lot of corporate partners for Amazon, so bad shit on the way for them. Multiple sources describe Twitch as a company that pays lip service to safety. Say that for so many software platforms. It's only surprising because they're so big that they're still doing it. Anyway, it's meant that Twitch uses a lot of third-party services that Amazon has traditionally avoided. Okay, so this is an issue in that while Amazon does own Twitch, they're largely kind of allowed to do their own thing, which results in Twitch using a lot of third-party services, and Amazon doesn't do that. Amazon, for the most part, makes their own stuff and just uses their own stuff. That way they have full control of it, they can audit the whole thing. They know exactly where every single piece of code came from, they know who all the contributors are and everything like that. It's like very tightly controlled. Twitch isn't doing that. I imagine that will probably change soon enough. So further, I highlight here that Twitch has struggled to perform effective audits on the software and tools it has been using in the past. So again, if you're not familiar, software development, software houses tend to go through a thing called tech audits, and that is, if you are using a piece of software, you need to know what kind of security issues it has, what kind of security issues it might have down the line, how protected the data is, particularly if it's your own data that's sitting on it. So if a software company uses GitHub to host their software, they need to know that it's secure, that it's not going to leak, that nobody but them can see it, that kind of thing. The IDE you might use, interactive development environment, where you actually type out all the code, you again would need to know that none of that data is being sent off to like an outside third party, nobody else can view it, that kind of thing. So when you make your own shit, like Amazon do, it's very easy to audit that, because you know exactly what's happening underneath the hood, because you know, you could literally walk down the corridor to the guy and go, hey, what did you write last week on, you know, at 2 p.m. before you went for lunch or whatever? You know, you can actually ask them and check. Whereas if it's a black box piece of software, you don't have that information. And in that case, a lot of software teams or a lot of software companies will just not use that technology. And it seems like Twitch have kind of seen stuff that is useful for them and maybe not done their due diligence for auditing and that kind of thing. That's not the issue that's causing the server leak. Server leak is pure somebody configured the server wrong. That's all that issue was. It's like a very basic mistake to make. But because these things are so basic, they do tend to happen kind of often. It's just, how often do you forget your keys at home and that kind of thing. Anyway, we're only really seeing the tip of the problem here for Twitch. These will have ongoing issues going forward. Good shit there, Derek. Anyway, having their SDK leaked is their biggest problem, because that one will take a very long time to fix if they do find exploits for it, which there almost certainly are going to be, as we'll see in a minute. And then the knock-on effect to AWS in that the internal APIs for AWS have also leaked. So while Twitch won't exactly use all of them, it will be using a significant number of them. And having those now publicly available is going to be a pretty big nightmare for Amazon in general. So that's not good. Plus, they may have a civil suit on their hands for leaking people's income. It's not good. There's not good stuff going forward for Twitch anyway. Okay, so some more lighthearted stuff. So there was a Nintendo Super Smash Bros. Direct kind of thing, as a Sakurai Presents Smash Bros. The very last character that will be in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate will be Sora from Kingdom Hearts, who was very much heavily requested in a lot of the polls and a lot of the comments underneath characters being added and stuff. It's like, where's Sora? When's Sora going to be in it? Why aren't you putting Sora in now? And so on. So yeah, very last character will be Sora from Kingdom Hearts. They have put a lot of effort into the character. Do we have a video? Watch on YouTube, so you can watch this while I talk about it, I suppose. So Sora being added, it's pretty great that they added him in the first place. This is actually a big long thing of here's all of the characters first. Okay, the whole presentation. Let me skip ahead to Sora. Oh yeah, Doom Guy got a Mii costume, so he got in anyway. He didn't get in as a full character, so he got the Dante treatment. There are a lot of people wanted Dante from Devil May Cry. They made him a costume. And a lot of people wanted Doom Guy from Doom, and again, they made him a costume rather than making him a full character. We get to the bit where Sora is actually introduced. That will probably be it there. So there's a full trailer of Sora kind of hanging out with everybody. I kind of want to get to the part where the character. I know there's a part where Sakurai just does a fight with Sora and Cloud. No, he's still explaining how the character works. Sorry, skipping ahead of these. I thought this was a trailer that was just that part, but it is not. Scrubbing through. Okay, I think it's here. No, this is talking about the stages now. The Hollow Bastion will be in it, and that kind of morphs into Dream Dive thing. The part where it has all the stained glass, I forget what it's actually called. This? Okay, it's here. So it's this part where Cloud Sephiroth and Sora face off against each other, and it's a pretty cool fight. Anyway, so they put in a lot of stuff for Sora. If you've played Kingdom Hearts, you'll know that Sora spends a lot of the time in the air doing a lot of combos. So that won't really change in Super Smash Bros. He has a lot of air control. He can move very far across the screen. It will almost be impossible to actually kill him from, ledge guarding or whatever it is, getting him off the screen, basically, because he can very easily just get back on the platform. He has so many ways to do it. He looks like a very interesting character to play as, basically. And that will be all of the characters from Super Smash Bros. So some strangeness for Sora, but it's not exactly unexpected. With was already unexpected that he was even in it in the first place, but there is basically no Disney stuff at all in any of his movesets, any of the stages that have been added, any of the music. The music is all non-Disney stuff, so it's not from any of the worlds. It would have been all of the original music, which is kind of better. You're not going to see Mickey Mouse, you're not going to see Donald and Goofy and so on. They don't show up. The only kind of nod to Disney at all is the Mickey Mouse head on the end of Sora's keychain. That's it. That's the only thing that suggests that there is a Disney connection here. I'm not surprised. I can't imagine that Nintendo or Square Enix wanted to like talk to Disney's the House of Mouse legal representatives. You know, they are famously litigious, even more than Nintendo are, so I can't imagine they wanted to talk to them at all. So I'm not surprised there's no Disney stuff. It's a bit of a shame, sure, but I'm not surprised. There are so many issues there. I imagine Mickey Mouse would have it somewhere in his contract that he can't be beaten by anybody, and so it's you know, it's not surprising. But there you go. That's all the characters for Super Smash Bros. All done. Get all the DLC, and you know, you'll have a full gigantic roster of characters. Okay. So actually quite a few new releases this week, so we'll go through a few of them here. There are actually more than I'm showing off, but these are the ones that kind of interest me. So first off, and big, like, what year is it kind of meme-ness? This is in the sense that this is kind of a game a lot of people were never expecting to see ever again, which is a new Metroid game. So Metroid Dread was released this week. It is sitting on my Switch. I have not had a chance to play it just yet, but I will be remedying that situation very soon. So Metroid Dread is a return to the Metroid series. It is a proper 2D full Metroid title. The conceit for this game is there are a bunch of roaming robots, basically, that are, I think, pretty much impossible to kill, and it's more or less Samus's job to just deal with all of the other enemies while not getting killed by these robots who are going to be chasing after her for the entirety of the game. So she's introduced to one of them here, and there's some pretty, like, stressful looking gameplay here where you have to try to escape from this thing while it's chasing you the whole time. You can see there's kind of pings going off, and the pings are basically, this is where the robot thinks you are, unless of course it can actually see you. So I guess you can use that to possibly avoid being seen. What you've got here is like, please open the door already. The robot is gaining, and we'll keep it here until we find out what happens. Yes, they did not get away, and it's from what I can tell, it's an instant kill. So that'll be fun. There's a bit of like Nemesis to it, like Resident Evil Nemesis, or the Tyrant, Mr. X or whatever, a kind of unrelenting foe who will follow you, and there's very little you can do about it except run away. I'm also getting a bit of like the Strider reboot from a good few years ago. I'm just getting a lot of vibes of that as well from it, and that was a very, very good game. I'm hoping for something similar here. Metroid Dread, Back 4 Blood. So technically Back 4 Blood isn't out yet, but if you pre-ordered it, you do get this weekend to play as early access. So you could have you could have pre-ordered it and you would have been able to play it from Friday. You would have been able to play over this weekend and get like a couple of days ahead of everybody else until it's actually released on October 12th, I think, so Tuesday. It'll actually be released. Or tomorrow, if you're watching this video as soon as it went up. So, Back 4 Blood is a what do they call it? Homage, not a homage. Spiritual successor, that's the one I was going for. I couldn't remember what the buzzword was. But it's a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. So basically, zombie hordes, 4 characters. You know, they have their own abilities, but also there are very different variations of zombies. You know, you've got the big broody one, you've got the guy who brings everybody to the yard. He has the zombie milkshakes or whatever, I don't know. Lots of fun stuff, but we do have one wrinkle that we need to talk about for Back 4 Blood, but we'll leave that until we hit industry bullshit. Jett, the Far Shore. I have talked a little bit about this. It is a sci-fi survival exploration kind of thing that's set into kind of two separate modes. So you've got this mode where you're in the spaceship kind of scouting out areas, trying to find new people to add to your colony and like finding out resources, finding new areas to explore and so on. And then you've got a different mode where you're on foot, first person, where you are talking to the different colonists. Maybe they have things for you to do and you're progressing the story. I don't know a whole lot about the story, to be perfectly honest. All I've seen about it is that it looks very grim, as you can probably tell from this trailer. But what I've seen of it looks really intriguing, and I am interested in playing it. But what I have seen from the press is that it's very mixed on people who do either really like it or people who couldn't give less of a shit about it. So I don't know. I guess we'll see how that goes. But Jett, the Far Shore is available right now. Then we have the meme game, Nickelodeon Super Smash Bros. More or less. So Super Smash Brothers, but with Nickelodeon characters. You've got SpongeBob, you've got Ren and Stimpy, Nigel Thornberry, Cat Dog, the Ninja Turtles, and so on. I can't imagine how Cora and Aang don't just wipe the floor with fucking everybody. Wouldn't they just annihilate everybody in this game if it was an actual, for really real combat game? You could also probably say that for Super Smash Brothers, that fucking Sephiroth should probably just destroy everybody since he's like a demigod. But whatever, let's not go into that. Let's assume everybody is perfectly balanced for some whatever reason. SpongeBob has just as much chance of winning a fight against Cora as Leonardo does against Patrick or whatever. Then we have BPM bullets per minute. So this is a first-person shooter rhythm game. I know that doesn't make too much sense, but bear with me for a minute. So you might see in the middle on the crosshair, you have a beat that's going off to the beat of the music that's playing, and all of your actions, other than just straightforward walking and strafing or whatever, but shooting, reloading, jumping, dashing, that kind of thing, is all to the beat of the music, and that's how you keep up multipliers. That's how you keep up your health and so on. It looks very stressful, to be honest. Because it doesn't seem like enemies move on the beat. It seems like enemies do whatever they want, but you have to move to the beat. Or more particularly, you have to like shoot, reload, and all that stuff to the beat of the music. So that'll be very interesting. It's pretty heavy metal music as well, so it seems like it's going to be pretty fast paced. But I do wonder, like, because they do have like semi-automatic weapons and like a minigun, and like if the music is kind of slow paced, can you just not use the minigun? Because it's like this gun fires too fast and just doesn't match this music. Well, that will be interesting to see. I don't know how that plays. And then very lastly, the Alan Wake remaster that had been announced like a month ago. Kind of shock announcement. Not really shock. I think there were rumors that it was happening, but it was like officially announced that there will be an Alan Wake remaster, and now it's out. Just in time for Halloween. Alan Wake is a sort of Stephen King kind of game. Like you are playing Alan Wake, who is a horror author, not unlike Stephen King, who tries to go out for a retreat because he's having writer's block and he just wants to have a holiday, but his wife thinks that going out to this place will actually help him get over his writer's block. But then his wife goes missing, and then it's a whole horror thing about where is she, and shenanigans are happening. And wouldn't you know it, he's finding pieces of a manuscript he's never written, but those pieces are coming to life. So it's very Stephen King, to be honest. I've never played Alan Wake, so I am very much looking forward to it, because I never owned an Xbox or a PC that was capable of playing it. So, well, that's not true. I've owned a PC that's capable of playing it for quite a while now, but I just haven't got around to it. But now it's on console, so hopefully I'll get a chance to play it then. But that's new releases for this week. So now it is time to talk about the worst part of video games, the video game industry. So, new OFCOM rules calls for Twitch and platforms to better police video content. So continuing with the Twitch shenanigans, OFCOM who are a UK regulator, have basically released new kind of guidelines, or not guidelines, but rules, basically, to kind of restrict what kind of stuff can be shown on Twitch, what kind of stuff can be shown on Vimeo, TikTok, a bunch of other things, but curiously not YouTube. We'll get to that in a second, why it's not YouTube. But basically they want to encourage stricter actions when it comes to policing inappropriate content and protecting users. Failure to do so will result in fines, or in particularly serious cases, suspension of the entire service. Somehow I don't see that ever happening, but whatever. OFCOM claiming a third of all users see videos that are hateful or worse on these sites. A third? Really? Seems unlikely, but okay. Under the new rules, Twitch and services like it push to simplify their reporting and complaints process. That's not going to happen. It's all automated. It's not going to happen at all. And that sites with adult-only content will need to demonstrate robust age verification system. Also, not going to happen. There's no way to ensure people are telling the truth on the internet. It's just not possible without being a massive invasion of their privacy. Anyway, earlier this year, the company released its first transparency report, which showed that less than 15% of Twitch users' reports led to enforcement actions, and only 2% of reports around hateful conduct and harassment were acted upon. Now, that's not great from Twitch, but also this kind of has nothing to do with the OFCOM stuff. The OFCOM stuff is for what content is on Twitch, as opposed to how its community behaves. So these OFCOM rules are about just not posting like beheading videos and that kind of stuff, which I can't imagine. Like, is there that much of that on Twitch? I think they're pretty good about catching that kind of thing. The real issue is that when you force additional moderation or stricter rules or stricter punishments around failing to moderate, because moderating at scale is very difficult, and Twitch is most definitely at scale. You know, how many videos are just, or how many streams are going on like right now kind of thing, and they need to be able to monitor and moderate every single one of them? No, it's not happening. There's too many. You are going to have to, at a certain point, you're going to have to outsource this or have other people look into it. This is why people have their own moderators. Or like bigger streamers would have a dedicated moderating team, or the auto moderation stuff from Twitch, which again is a robot. It doesn't understand nuance, so it is going to make mistakes, and it is going to make some stuff, you know, it's going to be false flags and false negatives, and false positives, and so on. But of course, OFCOM don't really particularly care about that, because they've clarified that it will not be responsible for assessing individual videos, so they want these services to do all the work, and OFCOM will just lay out the blame, basically, which isn't great. You know, there needs to be a better, there needs to be a standard set for what is and isn't allowed, and it needs to be kind of not exactly policed, but it needs to be set up by a third party that is actually beholden to state representatives or like regional representatives or something, maybe the EU, UN, something like that, but like putting all of the onus on Twitch, or putting all of the onus on YouTube or Google or whoever, is that, you know, what's going to happen is that they will just create a robot to do it, and it will make mistakes and people will get pissed off. Anyway, why not YouTube? The rules are not expected to apply to YouTube, as this falls outside the UK's jurisdiction and is monitored by Irish regulators instead. Well, that absolutely fucking nothing will be done for YouTube then, because Irish regulators will do fuck all. Google has its headquarters in Ireland rather than in the UK, which is why OFCOM can't force anything upon YouTube. It's a Google subsidiary, but I believe Twitch and Amazon have European headquarters in UK, which is why they can force it on them. Anyway, moving on. California files objection to recent Activision Blizzard settlement, says will cause irreparable harm to its legal proceedings. So last week we talked about how the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission settled with Activision, or allowed Activision Blizzard to settle allegations that found that staff at the video game publisher had been sexually harassed, discriminated against for becoming pregnant, and had suffered retaliation by the company after complaining about that behavior. They were allowed to settle it for like a penny. it was $18 million, but like accordingly to Activision Blizzard's actual net worth, it's a penny. Might as well fucking be a penny. Anyway, the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing are basically saying, yeah, no, you don't get to settle this shit. You don't get to settle this shit because of what's buried in the settlement. I can't remember the word for it now, but there are particular things laid out in the settlement agreement that will fuck over their investigation. So, given that its terms, among other things, require employees to release Activision Blizzard from claims under California state law. So it basically means that if people want to avail of the money from the settlement, so if former employees or current employees want to get a piece of the 18 million, they need to waive their claims under California state law, which means the Department of Fair Employment and Housing wouldn't have a case anymore if they did that. So this will directly affect their case and their lawsuit, which is not great if they're actually intending to try to hold them to account. The FEH is pending enforcement action against defendants. Activision Blizzard, in this case, will be harmed by uninformed waivers that the proposed decree makes conditional for victims to obtain relief, i.e. this waiver doesn't kind of point out that you'll mess up this enforcement. Like, it's not said in that waiver. The proposed consent decree also contains provisions, this is kind of actually a worse one, contains provisions sanctioning the effective destruction and or tampering of evidence critical to their case, such as personnel files and other documents referencing sexual harassment, retaliation, and discrimination. Since they've settled, they're basically saying in that settlement agreement that they can then go ahead and delete all of the documents related to that case, which is still needed for the California case. So allowing the settlement to go through under the current agreement will absolutely destroy their case. And this is kind of a case of Activision Blizzard just throwing a penny at this and getting rid of a lot of legal problems that they're having. So yeah, allowing that settlement to go through, if it does, because it's not official yet, exactly, it still needs to kind of be signed off, particularly because they've now filed an objection, so the objection has to be dealt with. It may or may not be overruled, and so on. Anyway, not good. Okay, time to shit on Marvel's Avengers again. Avengers adds paid experience boosts, pissing off everybody. And this byline is actually pretty funny too. In the wake of tremendous Xbox game success, Square Enix does something dumb. Yes, they do. So, Marvel's Avengers was added to Xbox Game Pass last week, and it quickly becoming one of the most played games on the console. So, super popular, right? They've gotten players in. What's the problem? Why do you still need more money? Developers said they were committed to not doing this last year, so that means not doing this is no pay-to-win stuff, but they have added paid timed experience point boosters to its cash shop. So you may or may not remember that when Marvel's Avengers was actually announced at E3, I think it was E3, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, like one of the very first things they said was a very cheap pop to basically say there would be no microtransactions. Or no pay-to-win microtransactions, and they got a golf clap for it, right? It's a very easy win. We won't try to just gouge you for money. But shock, they're gouging you for money. We've also committed that content purchasable with real money in Marvel's Avengers will be aesthetic-only editions, which will ensure we can keep the game fresh for years to come. So they are absolutely rolling back on that. Here is a screenshot of the shop as it is now. Everything on the bottom is a booster, basically. So we've got the one that's highlighted here. It grants the owner 1.5 experience points bonus for a week in real time. So that sucks. You're going to be playing the whole game for that length of time. Players can buy a couple of different types of boosters. One's last a week, one's last 3 days, one's last 1 day. There's even a free one that will give you a taste of extra XP for free for about 2 hours before having to pay for the next hit. So, first hit's always free kind of thing. And I just highlighted this entire paragraph because it pretty much sums up the whole problem with it. As you would expect, Avengers players are not happy, especially long-time players who experienced the leveling slowdown developer Crystal Dynamics implemented in March of this year. You know, the one where the developer said people were leveling too fast, which may be confusing and overwhelming to newer players, unless those players pay for it, apparently. This is certainly not an example of a developer making something more difficult in order to sell a means to make it less so. That would be insidious. Yes, it would. Mike, this sounds like Mike Fahey. Okay, that was right. Yeah, this is basically the problem. They have increased the grind only to sell you something that will decrease an artificially inflated grind. Fuck you guys. Okay. Back 4 Blood, as I said, there was a wrinkle that we needed to kind of point out. Back 4 Blood solo mode blocks achievements, trophies, depending on what you're playing it on, stat tracking, and progression. So you can basically do fuck all in solo mode, other than just play the game. There's no level progression, there's no character progression, you don't get to like track anything. So while you can play the game in solo mode, you won't be able to unlock achievements, earn valuable supply points, or even track your in-game stats. So tracking your stats is kind of important for some people. I don't particularly give a shit about it. I do care about trophies. And I know some people don't give a shit about trophies, and that's fine too. The supply points thing is a problem though. So supply points are needed. If you haven't seen gameplay of Back 4 Blood, Back 4 Blood uses a card system so that you can basically apply perks and buffs to your character before you go into a match, or before you go into a run, or into a campaign, or whatever way you want to put it. And supply points are used to buy new cards, basically. It's to get you new and different varieties for your deck. But if you aren't earning supply points, you are basically stuck with the default deck. You're stuck with a deck that's made specifically for solo mode, but it means you can never get anything new. So here is like a screenshot of what you get when you start the solo campaign. So this uses solo decks created in the Fort Hope deck menu. Maps and objectives will be adjusted. Matchmaking and player invites are disabled. Earning supply points is disabled. Stat tracking is disabled. Earning progress towards accomplishments is disabled. So accomplishments will be the in-game trophies and achievements and such. Yes. So here's the kind of the bigger issue. So it will be fine if it's just like this is a solo mode only card deck. Like fine, you know, you're not going to get the multiplayer stuff, whatever. Not being able to track trophies, this seems kind of shit, because, I mean, it's not exactly a competitive game. Why are you blocking people from doing it that way? But whatever. Blocking solo players out of progression might not be so controversial if the game also didn't require an online connection. You need to be always online to play solo. And now you're also saying they can't progress, but they're connected to the server. Combine that older news of an always online connection with the recent revelation that solo mode players will be blocked from a lot of the game's progression and stat tracking, and you have a bad situation. If the servers for this game get shut down in a few years and no offline mode has been added or changes made to solo progression, it will be a bad time and make it nearly impossible to play in the future. Again, game preservation issue. If there's no online server and you can't actually progress through the game, you can't, play as if you were in with a group of people and get the same kind of progression, the same kind of gameplay design and so on. You're not getting any of it because you need to have an always online connection. So having an always online connection for a single player solo mode is always stupid, but also if you're not going to allow actual character progression and still require them to be connected to the game server, that doesn't make sense. Now, Turtle Rock Studio, the developer, have said that they are looking to address the issue, so maybe they'll have some kind of fix, but right now, it's not implemented in the game. Okay. GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas fans are using Steam reviews to encourage people to buy the originals before Rockstar delists them next week. So, there's some additional news here that's kind of overshadowed by it, but there is going to be a definitive edition of the GTA 3 trilogy, if you like. So GTA 3, GTA Vice City, GTA San Andreas will all be getting definitive editions, or more specifically, there will be a trilogy released with all three games. with mysterious enhancements that aren't really spec'd out, much like the GTA 5 trailer from a while ago, where they just said there would be mysterious enhancements and nobody knows what they are. We also don't know if any of the radio stations, the music, there was a lot of licensed music in all of those games, if any of it will be coming back for the definitive editions. That was always an issue, licensing agreements around that music. And it's kind of a big deal for Vice City in particular. That soundtrack is kind of very tied into the game. We don't know if they'll be keeping it. Thing is, if you buy the older versions of those games, the licenses still apply to them. So you still have access to that music. So it's like they're closer to the original game than the definitive edition would be. There's also an issue here for game preservation because, again, they're taking the originals off the store, so you no longer have access to those original games. Again, this is like, you know, you can always go back to the whole George Lucas fucking about with Star Wars and adding a bunch of different editions, and people just want the original fucking film. It's the same deal. Like, you can't really get the original masters of the Star Wars films. So this would be like a similar idea, that you wouldn't be able to get the original version of the GTAs, or at least you wouldn't be able to do it easily. I guess you could find them in like a secondhand shop or, you know, eBay or something like that. You might be able to find it and then find a console that will play them and so on. Again, it's not clear if they're keeping the music, and the music is the biggest issue here, because the games themselves can already be heavily modded and so on. This is also the reason why Rockstar have been going on a big spree of cease and desists for like fan mods of the original games. It's the same reason, because they're planning on making this the only way to buy those games. The only way you can get them once they're released is to buy the definitive edition trilogy, which is pretty shitty for both game preservation and customers, because they will almost certainly be expecting you to pay full price for all of these, whereas if you were to buy GTA 3 or Vice City or San Andreas or all of them together, it's like €20. Maybe, or should be. Those games are so old. They have definitely made their money at this point, so they should not be charging full mega bucks for it, but you can bet your ass they'll charge full mega bucks for it. Anyway, moving on. So we thought we were past this, and that Sony had got the message that people don't want them to shut down the store on PS3 and Vita. And yeah, technically they're not going to shut down the store, but they're going to make it pretty much unusable. So instead of shutting down the store outright, what they've basically done is they have turned off credit card payments and PayPal. So you can no longer buy anything directly with your credit and or debit card or through your PayPal account on those consoles. The only way you'll be able to do it notes customers can still make purchases through the PS3 and Vita stores, provided they first add funds to their wallets via the PlayStation Store on the PS4, PS5, a PC, or a mobile device. So all of these things that they mightn't have. They might only have a PS3. They might not have access to the rest of these things, and now they cannot buy anything on the console that they own. Well done, Sony. You have effectively completely nuked that store. You got what you wanted. There was a big U-turn on it a while ago, but it seems unlikely that they will probably change their mind on this one. Maybe they'll get a big enough stink about this. If you still own titles that are on the store, you will still be able to download them if you've already purchased them and so on. Wallet top-ups. It actually doesn't say if you'll be able to do a wallet. Actually, no, it does. It specifically says you will not be able to do a wallet top-up on the actual PS. So if you go to GameStop or whoever and buy one of those prepaid card things, you won't be able to enter the code on the console that you own. You would need to find somebody else with a different console and log yourself in and top up on that, or go through on the PC, the really terrible PC store. Anyway, that's really bad. That's really, really bad. Okay. So this is kind of a really small thing, but I just wanted to highlight it, how shitty the Facebook outage that happened this week. So again, that's not particularly game focused, which again is why it wasn't particularly high up in any of the news, but it did affect games in some way. So a lot of mobile titles use Facebook as a login method. And since Facebook was down, people were not able to log into those games, and which means they couldn't play it. So Facebook just being down didn't just affect Facebook. It affected a ton of shit. And more so, it affected Oculus a hell of a lot, because you need a Facebook account to play Oculus games. Why? There's zero benefit, as has been clearly pointed out here. There's zero benefit to having a Facebook account to play Oculus games, because all this seems to do is when Facebook goes down, you can't play any of your games. You can kind of get around it in mobile titles because they typically would have a different authorization method. You know, you can sign in with Google instead, or sign in with Twitter, or sign in with whatever, or just straight up just make an email and password. You know, do it that way. But not with Oculus. No, you need a Facebook account for no reason, because there is zero benefit to having one. Not only that, a Facebook account will look like a fake Facebook account because it has no activity on it. You're not going to be making Facebook posts. All you're fucking doing is playing Oculus games. It's a completely terrible deal, basically, for everybody. Is the fact that it's required, and even worse so in that they said it wouldn't be required when they bought it the first time, and then just rolled back on it, as like every corporation has so far. It's like anytime they make a point that they will keep the great customer service part of things, in that keeping Facebook out of Oculus, fine, you can own it, but just keep your fucking tentacles out of it. Nah. Too many ports to get the tentacles in there. Okay. Alright, we're going to finish off with some dumb stuff. So this may not ostensibly look like dumb stuff, but it's dumb stuff. So, as Ethan Gack kind of summarizes just in his headline, Ubisoft announces Ghost Recon Battle Royale in the year of our Lord 2021. It's just, what are you doing? What are you doing? This whole space is so heavily saturated. Why? Also, this isn't Ghost Recon. Ghost Recon used to be a very technical single-player stealthy game, right? And almost kind of realistic in that, like, you could be killed with like a single shot and so on. Like, that was what Ghost Recon used to be. Then they turned it into Ghost Recon Foreground Zone something. I forget what it's called now. The ridiculous kind of pseudo MMO thing they had going. Not quite right. It's like a big multiplayer sandbox thing. Anyway, now it's Battle Royale. This is like Tom Clancy's gone like, wow. Actually, Tom Clancy wouldn't give a shit, but still, what are you doing? Another Battle Royale. We didn't even need one, but now we have hundreds of them. It's like, get a new idea. Stop trying to make all of your games the same game. Try something else. Continuing or piling on from the Twitch leak, there have been some shenanigans, as you might imagine. So Jefferson Bezos gets plastered all over Twitch after leak. So what you might be able to see here in the background from Grand Theft Auto 5, you might be able to see a Jeff Bezos in the background. The picture that they've been using is this face, which is, I guess, I don't know, Poggers. Jeff Bezos doing a PogChamp face. Anyway, it's kind of showing up in the backgrounds of a lot of games. That's it. That's just people just taking advantage of the Twitch leak and pushing images to the Twitch CDN, the content something. I don't know. That's where it was where they hold all their images and stuff. So it's what server they would hold things like the image for the Grand Theft Auto box art, the image for the Twitch logo, you know, that kind of thing, the background image for Grand Theft Auto and so on. It's like, it would be like a repository where they would have all those images, and people just changed it to Jeff Bezos' face instead, which is like a very funny hack, basically. But I'm sure it didn't help with Twitch web team probably tearing their hair out about this whole leak in the first place. And then last thing, so the trailer for Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, the second trailer, you may remember that the first trailer was very meme worthy, and that the main character said chaos like 500 times in that trailer, and it was ripped apart by social media in general. all. And apparently Square Enix didn't like that. They didn't like that people were making fun of their edgy PS3 protagonist, constantly saying the word chaos and being angry all the time. So they made sure that the second trailer, he never says the word at all. Unless you watch it in Japan. Because the Japanese trailer, he says chaos a lot. In fact, plenty of characters say chaos a lot in the Japanese trailer, but not in the English trailer. In the English trailer, he doesn't say it a single time. So, I think Square Enix are going the wrong way with this. They should really lean into it. They should lean into how kind of ridiculous it is that he says that he's really angry and says he wants to kill chaos all the time. It kind of fits how people are seeing the game anyway. Like, this is like the first introduction and people are kind of taking it as a kind of super over the top, ridiculous, almost pastiche of angry PS3 characters. And there's even a section in the new trailer where this character, somebody is talking about how like they had despaired and they were going to become the evil so that they could finally end their like tortured existence or something. And he just says bullshit, takes out his phone and starts playing like knockoff Linkin Park, like new metal. Just walks out of the scene, and it's like you can either look at that as just hilarious, like hilarious stupidity, or you can take it the way Square Enix apparently wants you to take it, as entirely serious, which is also really stupid and funny. So I don't even know what way to look at that. Anyway, that was the news from the 4th to the 10th of October 2021. Let me know what you thought. Obviously, the big Twitch leak, we're only really getting the news of it. At the moment, we don't really know how bad it's going to be or how badly it's going to affect services and people and having their income plastered around, or people's passwords getting shared, or having the APIs and SDKs open. That's bad. That's a bad one. Lots of new releases. I'm really hoping I'll actually get to play some of them sometime soon. That would be great. Metroid, I will definitely make a point of actually playing it. Whether I'll actually manage to finish it, I don't know. But I'll certainly make a point of giving it a shot. Elsewhere on the channel, you can see I have the script for the Games of April. I know. It's taking a very long time for me to do it, but I have the script done. I have a couple of the parts edited and rendered out, so I just need to finish off a couple of games and combine all the parts together and just release it and be done with it, to be honest. I may change the format going forward for those kind of games, because to be honest, as much as I prefer writing the scripts and it does sort of streamline the whole video, it's probably the biggest bottleneck of the whole thing, of the whole setup. If I can just do a straight to microphone kind of thing of just my ideas around the game, it's obviously haphazard, and there's a reason I started writing scripts in the first place, was to get away from that. But as you can see, it also means the videos take fucking ages to make, because I hate writing scripts, as it turns out. So there you go. Also, Plague Tale, I was hoping to get more parts out this week, but that didn't quite happen, but I am looking to finish it off this week. So there's about I'm hesitant to say 3 parts, because the very last part is mostly like a cutscene. So I may combine that into just I may combine the last 2 chapters, basically. I haven't decided yet. But I will also be starting a new Let's Play of Observer System Redux. I'm hopefully going to have that done in time for Halloween. That is my plan, at least. The game can be short, if I want it to be. There is a lot of side content of the game, and I would like to try to show off all of it if I can. There is also a very annoying collectible trophy that I'm trying to get. The collectibles don't really add a whole lot to the game, so I'm debating about whether I keep a second save where I just do the collectible stuff myself, like off screen, rather than subject everybody to me checking every single nook and cranny of the game world to find all of these collectibles. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. I have a feeling that's what I will end up doing. I'll just have a second save where I just go around and look for the stuff. Anyway, be sure to check that out if you have time. preferably you do, because I don't really make these. Well, I do kind of make these videos just as an archive for games that I like, and so I can go back and look at them without having to replay them, or so I can show them to people who I think might like the game, and they can just have a look at the gameplay without having to, like, you know, buy the game to find out or whatever. Obviously, they can check any of the other million YouTube gaming channels, but whatever. Thought I would give them a friendly face and an annoying voice. That's why there's a no commentary version. Anyway, we're getting off track. Thanks for watching the news video. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys next time.